Good afternoon. How's everyone doing today? What a great crowd we've got. Should be a really terrific lecture today. We're very excited to have today's lecture and partner with Learning in Retirement. I'm not going to take too much time, but I just wanted to give a couple quick updates. My name's TJ. I'm the program coordinator here at the library. First of all, also Happy New Year. Hopefully you all had a wonderful holiday season. And a couple quick reminders. If you haven't had a chance, make sure you turn your cell phone onto silent or turn it off. Also want to let people know, we got a lot of questions. There's a lot of interest in this subject, and we are live streaming this on our YouTube channel, and then it will remain up on our YouTube channel. And most of our programs are like that. Not all of them, but the vast majority of them, we actually live stream. So you can tune in, and you just go to YouTube, type Rancho Mirage Library, it takes you to our channel. And as soon as the program starts, it goes live and you can watch it. Or you can go back and watch any of the other programs that we've had. So if you see something maybe in our program guide that you're like, oh, I wish I could have made it, good chance that it's going to be up on our YouTube channel. So definitely check that out. The other thing that I wanted to let everyone know about is the fact that we have a really cool program coming up. We have all kinds of programs in the next few weeks. But tomorrow night, some of you may have seen that it's our 30th birthday this year. The library has been around for 30 years, which is really cool. So to celebrate, we're celebrating in a lot of ways, but tomorrow we're going to have a very, very cool program. It's going to start at 5 p.m. with kids programs and activities for kids and families, although everyone's welcome. And then from 6 to 8, we're actually going to have a very special program in here. We're going to have live music with Stephanie Trick and Paolo Alderighi. They're our four-hands jazz piano. So they're a married couple that actually play at the same time on the grand piano. It's fascinating, and they're a lot of fun, and it's really fun music. But they're going to be accompanying a game show. So you could be a contestant tomorrow night in a game show. We're going to have real prizes. It should be a lot of fun. We're calling it Rancho Mirage Squares. So if you remember Hollywood Squares, there will be people up in the squares. So we've had a lot of fun getting it ready. If you're a fan of the library, it'll be, I think you'll really enjoy it. So it'll be funny. We've got a great host and comedian, Eric Cunningham, who helps us at the observatory, and the music's going to be wonderful. We'll have great prizes, so it should just be a really, really fun night. So I encourage you to come check that out. And then we'll have the observatory open for an open night after that. So anyone who wants to, you can just right after our program walk over, and our astronomers will be there. You can ask questions, look through the telescope. So please do come join us tomorrow night. It should be a lot of fun. But now for this afternoon's program, as always, it's wonderful to partner with Learning in Retirement. This past season has been terrific. We've had a lot of great programs, and really excited to be finishing up today with Marc Rosen. And obviously, there's a lot of interest in this. And as soon as I heard the topic, we worked together to figure out what topics we're going to kind of present here at the library to give people a taste of what they do, because they really do more in-depth classes for very low cost, and I encourage you all to check that out. But this was one I was like, yes, let's do it. This is going to be great because it just makes sense. Everybody's got a phone now and is taking pictures, and a lot of people probably want to learn how to take the best pictures. So great to have Marc here today. He's someone who has been doing photography for quite a while. He uses several photo editing programs, and he teaches the Learning in Retirement course, Be a Better Photographer, in which students submit themed photos and engage in weekly group critiques. And he can tell you more about that, so please help me welcome Mr. Marc Rosen.
First of all, thanks for coming. It's always nice to have an audience. All right, so I represent Learning and Retirement, and the class that I teach is called Be a Better Photographer. Raise your hand if you'd like to be a better photographer. Yeah, I mean, that's something that's kind of cool. And what we do is we turn in a picture each week, and the class as a whole looks at the shot and we critique it. We basically talk about what works well with that particular picture and what could be done to make it just a little bit better. And so we're very kind, and we have all levels of photographers, and including lots of people who just use a phone, as well as people who use cameras. So we're wide open to everyone, and the comments are fantastic that we get. We have had people taking the same class for years. Every class offers 6 different themes depending on the week of the class. And so, for example, the one coming up is called Anything Goes Creative. And we're looking for a creative shot. It could be a content that's creative. It could be editing that's creative. And we do that for every week. And I'll talk a little bit in the presentation and show you examples of the different types of photography we're looking at, and I'll point out some specifics that has to do with phones in particular, because there's a lot of advantages to phones. The biggest advantage to your phone is that it is with you all the time. Remember the days when you carried a camera bag, some of you photographers out there, and you left it at home because it was too heavy, you know? Or you want to go on a hike, or you want to do something else. You don't have to think about bringing your camera with you because it is usually with you. And that's the biggest advantage to the phone. We'll talk about other advantages and some challenges that phones have as well as we go through the presentation. But I want to start with a little advertisement, and I hope that you're okay with it, because I work for an organization called Learning and Retirement. We are a nonprofit. No one earns a cent. We don't have any paid staff, including administrative staff. The only thing we pay for is our website and rooms that we rent for our live classes, which are at College of the Desert's classrooms at the Westfield Shopping Mall. They have a section in the back there where we have classrooms. Some of you know about those, and so that's where we have our live classes. But we also offer a great number of Zoom classes. And if you pick up the brochure that I had in the back, the schedule, that's for spring. We'll talk about that in a minute. But this is our website, lirpalmdesert.com. And if you wish, now that your phones are silent, if you want to take a picture of any screen that you see, I do that all the time in a presentation because I want to remember what I'm looking for. So feel free to take a quick picture of a screen if you wish. We also have a Facebook page that you can see here for those of you who are on Facebook or like Facebook and that sort of thing. But I'm going to show you first a little short 1-minute video just highlighting some of our programs and that sort of thing. And the end of the video is the most critical. So we'll talk about how to join our list.
And this is what the website looks like at lirpalmdesert.com. We do all of our business on the website, and you come right down here on the first page to join our email list. Just quickly type in your name and email address and click the join button. That's all it takes. Enjoy today's presentation.
Thank you for bearing with me on the advertisement part. The bottom line is that we are a nonprofit, and as I said before, 5 classes for $45 because we are working for free, all of us. The spring schedule is something that you have been able to pick up, and we are in winter session right now, and so the idea is that we can't join anyone for now because we've already closed registration. But if you go to the, I want to point out exactly this other part really quick, because this is an action piece that you can do like right now. And if you go to the website, which I'm going to bring up again, and you just scroll down to right here, it's on the first page. Just type your name and email address. We don't share your email address with anyone. We won't bother you, but what we will do is remind you when the registration period opens and when the classes are and what some of the classes are to maybe pay a lot of attention to. So we usually send out about 3 emails for each term, and we have 3 terms. We're in winter term right now, and spring term is coming up, and that's what the back brochure is all about. So if you do this today, you won't miss anything, and that's the key. All right. So let's get back into the action here. Okay. So the title of the presentation is The Art of Phone Photography, and I like the word art because those of us who have studied art and like art, well, photography is another form of art, as you know, and I think that's kind of a key factor as well. Let me go to this screen here. Whoa. And get rid of that other thing, I think. Well, let's go on. All right. All right. So we're going to kind of make a combination presentation today between what the kinds of things that we teach in photography in general that applies to people who use phones, cameras, doesn't make any difference. And one of the key elements of a good photograph is a good composition. And the rule of thirds is something that we pay a lot of attention to. And that's generally, where do you want your focal point to be in a photograph? Do you want it to be right in the middle of the photograph? Generally not, although there's always rules that we break. But generally, 1/3 of the way up and 1/3 of the way in on 4 corners, just like the tic-tac-toe. So you've got 4 focal points where you want your primary focus of interest to be in a good photograph. Doesn't always have to be that way, but generally speaking, that's what the rule of thirds is about. The other thing that we look for in a good photograph is, what do you want the viewer to see? What you want the viewer to see is to lead them into the photograph in a way that they can enjoy what you want them to pay attention to. So leading lines helps with that. Sometimes you find that in architecture, you find natural elements, you find color and contrast. There's a lot of ways of leading a person's view into what you want them to see. I'll give you a couple of other things that are very important rules, what we call, well, I hate to use the word rules, but in photography we have general rules of thumb that most people pay attention to. So I'll give you a few of those. One of the keys is a straight horizon line, a level horizon line. This is a picture I took in Monterey after a big fire in our area, and there was still smoke in the air. So this shot actually really exemplifies the idea of level horizons, because when you're holding your phone or your camera, you shoot your picture, but as I tell the students in the class, the thing you want to think last about. You frame your picture, you know what you want to take, but before you slowly squeeze that shutter release on your phone or your camera, before you do that, make sure that your horizon lines or your vertical lines are straight up and down in the case of a vertical, all right? And so that's a key element, because you don't want a sloping horizon and you don't want a tower that's supposed to be straight falling over. And so those are kind of key ideas about horizons and verticals. If you have any questions, you might want to just write them down someplace or think about them or whatever, so we'll take those at the end so I can work on my way through here and make sure that we don't miss anything that's important. Okay? So horizons and verticals. Next, many of us, when we're taking a picture, take it at eye level, right? We don't think about maybe taking the picture looking down or looking up, unless there's some reason to do that. But many times, you can position yourself with your phone in a variety of places. You can kneel down, assuming you can get back up again. You can get high up from a vantage point and shoot down. But remember that, and you can move to the right or to the left, and you can hold your camera or your phone higher or lower. You don't have to hold it to your head, because remember, your phone has a screen on the back that you can see. So you can just hold the phone down or hold the phone up and shoot that way if you wish. So you get a lot of different vantage points. And just to give you a couple of key examples, the barrel cactus, normally people would look down on a barrel cactus. But here's a shot where you're actually looking up at the barrel cactus, because you get a whole different sensation of what that barrel cactus is going to look like in your photograph. In the same way, you're going up the tram. You're thinking, I'm going up the tram. Well, what about turning back around again? I'm sure a lot of you have thought about this, and looking down and shooting the tram. You'll notice that in this shot, that tram car, which is coming from the other direction, because I'm in the tram coming down, this tram is coming up. So I waited for the tram to get into a PowerPoint position. Remember, the third up, third in. And that's where you want your focal point to be. And then you have the background as well. And we'll get into focus and other things in a little while. So next, there's a setting on most phones that is a panorama setting. So if you look at the bottom of your phone when you're ready to take a picture, you're going to see video, and you're going to see photo, and you might see cinematic, and you might see panorama. Well, the beauty of a panorama is, as you can see on the screen, it can actually photograph at least 180 degrees. So if you're out in the desert, as I was, filming this volcano out here, and I wanted to get more background of the scenery around it, because there weren't any distractions, right? There weren't cars around or other things that I would have to miss or wouldn't want in my photograph. This way you can get a much wider photograph. A photograph doesn't have to be in the aspect ratio that we're used to, meaning the aspect ratio is the dimensions from the vertical to the horizontal. We usually take a vertical photograph, or we usually take a horizontal photograph, but very seldom do we take a panorama like this. And when you're thinking about it, you can print these. They will print any aspect ratio you want. So this might make a really nice wall hanging. And believe it or not, you can do some very nice prints with your phone, and with a variety of people who will print those. For example, many drugstores will print photographs. Costco used to. I know Walgreens still does. Or you can have a custom company print photograph for you, frame it, print it, mat it, and then you take it home, you get it mailed to your house, and you put it on your wall, and you can have your own art on your wall, and that's really a nice thing to do. It's a great memory for a trip that you may have done, or for a key relative, or for a family event, or anything that you'd like to put on your wall. Why should you pay somebody else for their art on your wall? Oh, there's pretty good artists out there, I guess, too, right? When you can do your own. And putting your own photographs on the wall is a fantastic thing to do. I have a number of trips I've done to Africa, to different places, to Europe, and taken a lot of pictures over that period of time, and chose the ones that I liked the most, and they appear on my wall. So I've got a China wall, and I've got an Ecuador wall, and I just need more walls, I guess. That's the deal. Anyway, so that's what a panorama can do, and those are on most phones. And the idea with a panorama, you have to be kind of careful, because as you're moving your iPhone or your phone across the scene that you're doing at 180 degrees, or even more than that, you could do up to 360. I wouldn't advise it. I think 180 is enough, or maybe 250 or whatever. But you want to hold your phone level. You don't want to move your phone up and down as you're scanning across, because that will be a difficult situation for your phone to handle. Okay. All right. Next. So another very interesting kind of thing as a subject that we do is we do perspective photographs. And perspectives and forced perspectives are really interesting ways of showing a scene. And sometimes, as I say in the photography class, if you don't see it, you can't take it. And if you don't have your phone with you, you can't take it either. So that's why we're talking about keeping your phone with you when you're going and doing things. It's such a convenience to have it. So one of the typical types of perspective is what we call vanishing point. And as you look towards the scene, your lines converge. And sometimes you might have something at the end. It's kind of nice to have either a light or something at the end if you can, or even a person walking along here, but make sure that they're further back in the picture so they're not taking up the idea of the perspective. You want people to focus on the perspective idea, not necessarily the person who's right up front. So if you have people in the photograph, that's okay, but if they're further back in the photograph in this area or right at the end, that's a better place to have people walking. And you might have arches coming down from both sides. You might have lines. You might have patterns. You might have shadows. There's a whole lot of perspective shots. But the idea of a perspective is showing, and I'll show a couple of examples of that coming up, but there's a lot of ways of doing perspective. And one of the other ways is a forced perspective. So I shot this truck at a car show. And what I did was I kneeled down right next to that front wheel. The front wheel was elevated, so the truck was sitting on a little platform in the front. But I got very close. I was no more than maybe 2 feet away from this front wheel. And that's why the front wheel looks as large as it does. It's called forced perspective. It's forced because you're really close to the front object, and yet you're including the rest of the object, the rest of the truck, in the shot, you see? So forced perspective can be a really fun way of creating an artistic view of something that most people wouldn't think of. Again, if you don't see it, you can't take it. So what iPhones, not just iPhones, but most phones have the possibility of adding apps. Okay, you've seen those. And what apps do is allow you to expand a little what you're working on. And we'll talk about a few different apps. But one of the apps that happens to be my favorite, I do a lot of car photography. And so I will get really close to a car. And again, you don't have to shoot a car, the front of this car, straight up and down, which is what we would think about doing first. You can turn it on an angle. It's okay. And it adds a little interest to the shot, doesn't it? And Prisma is a filter that I believe is like $29 or whatever. You can buy it from the App Store on your phone. And Prisma allows you to add a filter over your photograph, whatever the photograph is. So there's a filter over this photograph as well. This was a shot I took on a tour of downtown Palm Springs, and we were just looking in the backyard of somebody's house, and they had a pool with some pool toys, and so the pool toys were looking like this, and I wanted to use the filter to show some more detail and a little color enhancement and just a little bit of enhancement on some of these forms that you can see make them a little bit more interesting. Now, some people don't like the idea of altering the photograph, but hey, we're in the world of AI and everything gets altered, right? Anyway, so it's a tool. You don't have to use it, but it's available. And so we'll point out some of those things as we move along. One of the other types of photographer that the phone is really good at getting very, very close to an object. And we call that macro photography. And the lens on those phones these days, especially these days, you can get within a couple of inches of an object. And that is fantastic for flower photography, for plants, for insects, for anything that's super close that you can really see and you want to make it large. So one of the things that the phone does best is macro photography, and one of the things that it does worse is zoom photography. All right? So the phone is not the answer to all worlds. It's where you use it and how you use it that really results in the best photographs. So what do I mean about zoom photography? I don't have an example because I didn't want to show you a bad photograph. No. But what zoom photography means is that most phones these days have the idea of being able to zoom. So you spread your fingers across on the screen, right? And you can bring the object that may be far away right up close. The problem with the phone, and one of its biggest weaknesses, is that it doesn't have the optics in that little device and those tiny little lenses to really create a good sharp photograph when you're zooming way up on something that's way far away. However, I'm not saying that all zoom photography isn't good with a phone. If you're a reasonable distance away, you're 5, 10, 15 feet away from something, you can zoom into it and it will be sharp. But if it's 200 feet away or 300 feet away, no, it's not going to work, okay? It'll come out blurred or pixelated or whatever, and you might want to blow it up on your computer or however you want to do your editing. It just spreads the pixels too far apart. That's one of the weaknesses. But one of the other strengths of phones is that they can do very well in low light situations. Low light. So you're in a room, you're touring a museum where they say you can't use a flash. And you're saying, oh, darn, I really wish I could take that picture. You can take it with a phone because a phone requires very little light. All right? And it will come out usually pretty well. And so don't forget about using your phone in a low light situation. If you have better light, it's better, of course, because light is the key to photography. We can't do it without light. But low light photography with a phone these days, the new phones especially, it's surprising how well they can do. Okay? But if you're going to do macro, coming back to the slide, if you're going to do macro, don't stand 10 feet back and zoom in on it. Get right up close to that insect, unless it's a bad bee or something. You don't want to get stung or whatever. I understand that. So, but normally you want to get as close as you can. I like to get within a foot. When I'm doing macro photography, I'll get within a foot, sometimes closer. But also remember that your phone has a focus range. And like a camera will beep sometimes when you're at the proper distance away from your object. But a phone generally doesn't do that. And so you have to look carefully at your phone's screen because you may be too close. Because you can be too close and nothing will be in focus. You want to move back a little further back. And the phone will sometimes automatically go from macro, which is a real close shot, to further back. Usually most phones will automatically make that adjustment for you. You'll see it happen. As you gradually move closer to the object, you'll see it actually shift the focus. And you'll see that object that's very close coming in full focus. So be careful about how you use it. Move the phone slowly, just like you never want to punch that shutter release on your phone. You never want to punch it. You want to very carefully touch it. The reason you don't want to punch it is because you're going to move the phone, just like with a camera, right? You don't want to move the camera or the phone while you're taking a photograph, especially in low light situations. Because in low light, if you move that phone while you're taking it at all, or there's something moving that you're taking, it's going to be blurred, all right? And the other thing, before I forget it, that I tell my students all the time is bracket your photographs. One of the greatest things about phones and cameras these days is that their pictures are free, right? You can take 100 pictures of the same thing if you want to. It won't cost you any more than one picture, all right? Might cost you a little time, but remember the photographs are free. So what does that mean? That means you take a photograph from looking up, you take the same thing from looking down, from the left, from the right, closer, further away, and then you get home and you choose the photograph that you like best, or you don't wait till you get home. You look at the back of the screen because you go back to, where you can look at your photographs, right? You click back to your photo icon, which has all your photographs. You look at it, you say, my goodness, it worked a lot better when I was down here. So then you might take another picture from down there. So while you're out taking your photographs, look at your results. We never could do that with film, could we? We had to wait till we got home with a lead bag and the 23 rolls and hope that you got something, right? Especially after you put it through the X-ray machine. I mean, those were, you guys remember the film days. I mean, that was horrendous, and then you had a bad roll of film in the bunch and you had no idea. So you got home, God, the best pictures are gone. What happened to them? Or why did that take a blue tone? Ektachrome, remember Ektachrome? Blue tone? Kodachrome was always best. I love that. Anyway, so here's another thing you can do. Patterns and textures. So one of my favorite slides was while I was walking along on a hike. I think it was East Indio Hills. And I wasn't climbing rocks or anything. I was just walking along on the flat area and happened to see a bunch of footprints, right? This is not manufactured. There's no AI here. This was looking down at the ground. And not just looking at one place on the ground, because once I noticed that the footprints were interesting and the lighting happened to be really good to show me the prints. And you know what? Your eye tells you how good the lighting is. If you look at something and you squint because there's too much sun or it's too bright, your camera will squint too. Although phones do a really good job of correcting that squint or of lessening the amount of light exposure that's going on to that picture. Phones do an amazing job of that, I think better than most cameras do. Okay, so there's another advantage of phones. So I'm walking along, and so I'm noticing all these footprints, and then I said, well, now where can I go? What is the picture? Where is the winning picture? Not going to win a contest for me. Where is the winning picture? And so I happen to like this one. The reason I liked it was because it had a larger footprint in a focal point, close to a focal point again. So again, it's a place where your eyes rest, and yet there's all these other prints around it. And the idea of diagonals. Haven't talked about that so far, but you see diagonals. Diagonals are really fun in photography. Diagonals are the type of leading line that you want to emphasize rather sometimes than just straight up and down. If you show an angle, like this photograph that was out at Annenberg in the garden, I noticed it because I'm walking along in midday, which is the worst time to take photographs generally. The best time is early in the morning or late in the day. But it depends what you want. So I wanted a shadow. Well, the best time to get a shadow like this is midday, right? Around midday. So I shot this plant because I liked the form of the shadow on the ground. And I also liked these other barrel cactuses that formed a nice diagonal, right? So you got two diagonals. You got a diagonal here. You got the cactus in the PowerPoint, right? A third of the way in, third of the way up. And you've got these other barrel cactuses that pick up a pattern in the background. In this photograph in the middle, you have texture. Well, texture is something that you'll see in trees, you'll see in wood, you'll see in old houses. You'll see texture in a lot of places. Texture in plants, texture in soil, texture in the ground. There's texture everywhere, and texture itself is interesting sometimes. So think about touch, think about texture, think about how that can enrich a photograph. If you can't see it, you can't take it. So how do you share your photographs? Well, most of you probably know to email them, and we'll talk about emailing them in a minute, give you some detail. But you certainly can share your photographs on Facebook, Flickr. There's a whole lot of, and of course you got Instagram and Snapchat. Basically, any program now that can work with a phone, you can send a photograph, all right? And you can edit a photograph, and we'll get into editing in a little bit here too. Not in a lot of detail, but I'm going to show you just some programs that can help you with your editing, okay? So there's lots of ways of sending a photograph. One of the keys here to sending a photograph by email is you're going to see on your phone when you get ready to send the photograph, okay, with that little arrow that you're going to click at the bottom to send the photograph, and then you say, well, I want to send it to so-and-so and so-and-so, and you can select the right size of that particular photograph to send. If you send it with the smallest size, it takes the least amount of room on an email, but don't do it. It'll produce a picture that's tiny to whoever you send it to, and they're not going to even thank you for it. They're going to be very rude. So I always, when I send a photograph to anyone, I will send it actual size. What's the difference? Actual size goes perfectly by email. There's no problem with that. If you want to send 3 or 4 or even up to 10 photographs, usually you can't send more than about 4 on actual size at a time. So you send a group of 4 to someone, and then you send the next group of 4 if you want them to be actual size. Actual size means that they're not going to get blurred when someone's going to look at them. They're going to be the same exact photograph that you took, and it's going to look the same exactly as you took, and you're going to be able to blow it up. So if you want to send something to somebody and they want to make a print out of it, if it's okay with you, they could do that on actual size. On the other hand, if you're sending a whole bunch of photographs, 20 photographs or 30 photographs, then your camera probably will automatically say, it may automatically not even say anything. You can use different programs to send a whole bunch of photographs. That's another thing, depending on what kind of a program you're using. But usually you'll get them notice that, do you want to adjust the size or not? But generally, if it's an automatic situation that clicks in when you send a group of photographs, like on Google Photos or a variety of those types of programs, it's going to automatically shrink those photographs down. So there's a lot less information per photograph to be able to send in a large group, okay? The other way to do it is, if you don't want it to be shrunk down and you want your same size, you could put them on a disk, like a thumb drive, save them on a thumb drive, the regular size, the full size, and then just send that thumb drive in the mail to someone, and they'll have the full size photographs. I do that when I do a wedding, or I do an event like a birthday party. I just did an 85th birthday party for a friend. And he wanted all of these photographs, which was his photographs in photo albums that he had. And I showed him how he could show all those to the guests, because he wanted to show them all on the TV set in his house, so all the guests could enjoy it rather than have to look at a tiny little phone. So you can project your iPhone or your phone to your television set in most cases. It's not a difficult thing to do. And if you don't know how to do it, go to YouTube, because YouTube will teach you everything from how to build your toilet to how to set up a slideshow like that on your television set. So anyway, I showed him how to do that, and he was able to show a whole bunch of, and we put it on a slideshow where it would automatically advance, and he could stop the slideshow if he wanted to, and people could comment on it. But he showed it to his grandkids, his kids and his grandkids and some other people. And it was really a great way of celebrating his 85th birthday, right? So, and those were pictures that were already in his phone. And some of them weren't in his phone. So some of them were in photo albums. So he said, I want those pictures that are prints in my photo album. I want to digitize those photographs. So he took them out of his photo album carefully so they wouldn't rip, right? And he sent them in to one of the photo processors, which are online, with instructions to send him back a disc, a CD, with the photographs digitized on the CD. Okay? Very easy service to do. And what we did was we put those, I transferred those to my phone, and then we showed them on his television set. So it was really cool. A lot of things you can do. How many of you, I can see, kind of barely see you out there. How many of you have slides in a box someplace? Raise your hand. Maybe some of you still have those. But early on, I went ahead and picked out the best slides that I had from some of the most favorite trips I did. And I wanted to make them easy to show. So what did I do? I sent them over to Costco at the time. Now other places will do it. But I asked them to put these slides onto a disc, a DVD disc. So they did that, and then I could transfer it to my phone, and then I could project it on my television set without the slide projector and all the screens and all the nonsense that I used to have to do when I wanted to show pictures to a friend or friends. So now I can do it on my TV. Got a large screen TV. It's like a little theater, right? You can transfer those pictures right from slide to digitize to, if you're into all that. That could also get a little more complicated than you're interested in, but I just want to let you know that it's doable, okay? All right, moving ahead. So one of the other types of perspective shots that I really like are what I call near far. And so this was a super bloom taken at, what's that lake up there? I can't remember. Anyway, we're hopefully going to have another super bloom coming up, Lake Elsinore. All right? So I went up to Lake Elsinore along with 500 million other people during that particular weekend about, oh golly, I don't know, 4 or 5 years ago. We had a super bloom, and of course the poppies are all over the place. So the idea of a near far is you station yourself close to the nearest object, not too close because you want everything in focus, okay? So with a phone, you need to be, if you want everything in focus from the nearest thing to the farthest away mountain, as you see here, everything is in focus, you need to be far enough back from the closest object for the phone to automatically do an aperture setting that allows the phone to have the maximum depth of field. If I was to get closer to these flowers up front, like a macro shot that I showed you a little bit ago, the background would be very blurred because that's the engineering that goes into the phone, all right? So you need to know what the phone is capable of, and you will see it on the screen in your phone. But if you're far enough away from the furthest front object, then everything will be in focus. However, good lighting is a key to that. Good lighting is a key to that. So if you want everything in focus, you have a great clear day like this one happened to be. Chances are, as long as I'm far enough away from the front, everything's going to be in focus, and that's called maximum depth of field. Clarity all the way through the photograph, okay? And a lot of times you might want that, like in a shot like this. In the same way, there's a slight blur on these petrified rocks that are further back, okay? But the front one is really in sharp focus. How did that happen? I got closer to the front object. So the phone automatically sharpens the front object if I'm close enough to it, and it begins to blur what's further back. And again, if I wanted to adjust this with a phone, I would place my phone further away from the front object, and then everything would be even clearer. You may not want it to be clear. Again, it's your art. It's your art. So you make the decision. But if you want a choice, then you bracket. Bracket means that you take a variety of photographs, a little closer, a little further away, and so forth, different positions of that phone, so you can then see the different results. And one more thing about phones, many more things. But with a phone, it's a relatively small device, right? That's why we have them. They're small and portable. And that little screen, or that little eyepiece that you look through, is also very tiny, isn't it? And some of us, especially when we hit, an older age like 50, for example, just kidding about that. But as we get older, our eyes maybe don't work well and whatever. It doesn't even matter how old you are. The idea is that if you want to check how sharp that photograph is that you just took, you're out in the field, you're taking photos. You want to check that photograph. Is it sharp? So what you do is you take the photo, you go to your photo icon, which you're going to look at that photo that you just took, or sometimes you can just click on the lower left-hand corner and it'll bring it right up again. And then you look at it and then you blow it up with your fingers. You look at the photo you just took and you spread it apart to an extent that's reasonable to see, is it sharp enough? And if it isn't sharp enough, maybe there's a reason for it. Did you move that phone while you were taking it? Is there enough light? If there's not enough light, the phone doesn't produce a sharp, really sharp picture under some circumstances. In some it will, depends. But strong light will really help that picture be sharp. But as I said, you can take a picture with a phone in low light situations as long as you hold that phone super steady. Okay? So that's a key there too. So that's the near-far perspective. And the beauty of it is you show your viewer and your own memory what it was like to see these flowers up front, because the ones in the back on the hillside, you can't see those clearly, can you? So now I can show you what they look like because I have them up front too. That's called near-far. Faces in nature, one of my absolute favorites, and it's one of our themes. How often are you walking along and you don't even notice a beautiful face in the rock? And I can tell you around here, there's a whole bunch of them. And again, you don't see it, you can't take it. So the one on the left is a big rock, and I think that was in Joshua Tree. Pretty sure that was in Joshua Tree. Some of you may recognize it, right? The one in the middle, I found this on a log at the top of the tram. So I was just walking along, and I happened to look for faces in nature. It's kind of a cartoony little face. Isn't that kind of cool? Yeah. And you see it's got the texture. It's got the lines. I mean, if you wanted to create something like this from memory, it might be kind of hard, but nature does it beautifully, doesn't it? And then look at this one. It's one of my favorites. Look at the lips. Conversation. I call that a conversation. You got eyes. You got the nose. How many times would you walk by something like this and not even see it? Right? What do they say about Zen? It's kind of the art of seeing and experiencing what you're doing at that moment in time. It's about what you pay attention to. It's about what you're seeing, but you can't just see it. You've got to really, really notice what's there. We see lots of stuff all the time, but how much of it do we miss? We miss stuff all the time. So it's the art of seeing. So close up. Here's another setting on your phone. When you put your phone on camera, at the bottom you have video, photo, portrait, right? Portrait. And so the portrait setting is one that essentially blurs the background. You can use it for other things besides portraits, but be careful because sometimes it doesn't work as well as you'd like it to. But it's there. But again, I'd try a picture with it and without it. This is a little video. Whoa. I'm not hearing it very loud. Are you? AV people, can you turn up sound, please? Are you back there? There we go.
And you'll notice now that this has changed.
Hold on a second.
Portrait options down here. We have
Hold on a minute here. I want to get back to that if I can. Let's see if we can do that again.
So by default, what portrait does, if you've never taken in your camera photo, it's going to kind of blur the background or create some sort of effect in your background of your photo or even your foreground as it's kind of focusing in on this Bob Ross and the pen. What you would do again is in the editor, you can tap edit, and you'll notice now that this has changed. We have portrait options down here. We have them up here as well. First off, this was taken in the standard portrait. If we tap on it, it'll remove the portrait effect. So the background is no longer blurred, and you can turn that on or off as well.
So it's a way of blurring or not blurring the background. It's a portrait setting on most of your phones, and it's adjustable in that way that he just showed you. So again, you need to play with that to see how it works. I'll show you an example of it. So here's a couple of flowers I saw at, I think it was at Annenberg again. Some of you may recognize these on the entrance to Annenberg. I was standing around waiting for the tour guide to get started. He was talking to somebody on and on and on and on and on. So I thought, well, I've got my phone with me. Why don't I just take a few pictures while I'm waiting, right? So that's the other advantage of the phone. So this is taken in portrait mode, and what portrait mode does is it automatically will blur the background. You may decide, I don't want to blur the background. Then don't use portrait mode, right? The reason it's called portrait mode, and I'll get into that in a minute when I show you some portraits, why it's called portrait mode and why it is useful for portraits. But I'm showing you how you can use it outside of portraits, right? So just shows you that the different settings on how you can do this. And what I'm showing you now is the fact that you can actually put your finger, this is really important on phones. So I've got a photograph, and let's say I went back to the two flowers, I don't want to go back, but let's say I want that first flower in focus. You put your finger on that flower or whatever you want in that photograph to be in focus. And the camera will then use that finger place. It'll last just for a second or two, so you got to be a little bit quick here. But you push that, actually it'll last longer. You push that and hold that space on your picture. It will keep that part of the picture in the best focus, and not only does it put it in the best focus, it also will put it in the best exposure, which means the best lighting possible, okay? So it does focus and exposure at the same time. And I strongly encourage you to do that. You're taking a landscape shot, and you notice that part of the landscape is kind of dark because it's in shadow, and part of it's a little too bright or whatever. Your phone will average the light. But if there's something in the shadow, you can zoom in on it with your fingers by spreading that screen, and then push with your finger where you want that exposure to be. You see, but you've got to zoom in on it, and then you got to put your finger on it. Or if you're not zooming in because it's just an overall picture and you want the face of the person to be in perfect exposure or the best the phone can do, put your finger on the face and then take it. It's a very cool trick. All right, portraits. So I have 2 slides on portraits. Portraits are important the way you set up a portrait. A lot of people think a portrait has to be one person. No, no, no. It can be numerous people, generally not too many. But the way you structure the people, you set them up for the best portrait photograph, and however you want to arrange them. If you've got a mother and a baby, why not put their heads together, or have them doing something that's interesting or whatever. And again, you can get in as close as you want, and you can actually In photography, we don't like to cut off heads. We don't like to cut off hands. We don't like to cut off feet or parts of faces. But a lot of portrait photography moves right in on the face because that's what's important in a portrait if you're doing a close-up of the faces, all right? And you can do several. Again, these photographs are free, right? So you have them taking a variety. And one of the other tricks to a portrait like this, especially a close-up portrait, is I won't just take one picture and I won't say cheese, that kind of thing. I won't set it up that way. I'll just say, you know what, why don't you guys engage in a conversation? Just do what you do. That is a candid photograph as opposed to a snapshot. Candid is, again, pictures are free. Use your time and let people enjoy themselves with someone else. And then you're snapping pictures. They're forgetting you're there because it doesn't matter because they're engaged with each other or whatever. You might get a really nice photograph of people acting naturally. Okay, so again, you can do that. Show you another example. So I was in one of my favorite places in Mexico, San Miguel de Allende, in the state of Guanajuato. Some of you may know it. If you've never been to Mexico and you've only been to border towns, you need to get a little further down into Mexico because you might find a World Heritage Site like San Miguel de Allende, a little town, maybe 100,000 people, 70,000 downtown. A number of Americans live there now, like 15,000 Americans live there. So it's not a tiny town, but it still has the sensation, especially in the center, of being a small town atmosphere. And now the suburbs are way out. So, I mean, they don't bother you much. But anyway, I'm walking along, and here's another thing about phones, is that a lot of people don't want you to take their pictures. So you have to be careful. You wouldn't just walk up to somebody and snap their picture without asking them some sort of permission, especially with a phone, because you have to be close up. There's an advantage to using a long lens with a camera in a case like that sometimes, because you can be much further away and still take their picture. But if you're using a phone and you're traveling and you see some interesting picture, if you're shopping, for example, somebody's selling their wares, and you buy something from them, or at least you're shopping there and showing your interest, or maybe even talking to them and asking them if you can speak their language or whatever, asking them about the stuff that they're selling, showing some interest, and then you say, may I take your picture? They'll be happy to take their picture with you. This woman was a very poor woman, okay? And I wanted her picture desperately. You can see why, okay? And so I asked her, I said, and I speak enough Spanish so I could communicate. I said, is it okay if I can pay you for your photograph? She could use the money, right? So, I mean, it didn't cost me a great deal of money, but I gave her, I don't know what it was, 50 pesos or something like that. But it was enough, and she said, okay, and I took 2 or 3 pictures, and that was it, and I went on my merry way. In another situation, I was in Africa, and I was on a truck with a bunch of other people. We were touring a place in Kenya called South Horror, and it was a good name. And the guide said, be careful that you don't take pictures of the native people. And I said, what? I mean, what the hell? Why am I here? You know what I mean? I want to take pictures. And that's all he said. And so he said, we've got 10 minutes here. You can walk around and just see the street and whatever. And so I walk along, and I peer behind a building, and there's these beautiful women dressed all in natural beads and other things, that they wear in Kenya. So I asked them, is it okay if I took your picture? And they said, oh yeah. So I started taking pictures. I negotiated before I did that with the first one that comes along. And she said it would be this much for the pictures. I said, great. So after I was done taking 6, 10 pictures, I took my money out, my local currency, and I paid her. And she says, no, you have to pay all those other women too. And I turned my pockets inside out, and I showed them I didn't have any more money. And then I thought, I'm in trouble. I broke the rules, for one thing. And so there's a cop passing along on the street. So I got to where he could see me, and I flagged him down, and now I thought, I'm really going to be in trouble. Now he comes along, and this is a good story for you travel photographers. So he comes along, and he comes in, and he sees the women are there, and he sees what I'm doing, and he says, I need to take your camera. And I said, wait a second. You can't have my camera. I could, I'm thinking, what am I going to tell him? I said, I could give you the film. This was in the film days, right? I can give you the film. And anyway, we engaged a little, and he said, you can't take pictures. And I said, yeah, I'm sorry. I won't do it again. Right? And so then I told him I have to get back to my truck. I only got 10 minutes here. And so, he didn't want to hassle with me. So I went on my merry way, and I have the pictures, which I really love. And I'd show them to you, but I didn't have time to show them to you because I wanted to show you these others. But anyway, that's the story. And the bottom line is be careful. Be careful out there. If you see a guy on a Harley, not that Harley Davidsons mean anything, but at Venice Beach, you see some, guy with a name jacket on the back, and he's really got tattoos all over him. There's nothing wrong with tattoos either. I'm okay with it. But he may be a fugitive. And I've been into trouble doing that too. So, no, you got to be careful. All right, so portraits, again, these people were having a Thanksgiving party with all of their relatives. And they said, we want you to take pictures of us. And so I could take pictures of each one, and I took a few of them individually or whatever. But then I thought, well, why not put the camera down on the ground? This happened, but it could be a phone because, you have the delay feature on a phone where you can delay 2 seconds or 10 seconds, right? And so you can set that phone up to have a little delay, so then you put it there, but I had to get down on the ground, and I had to look up so I could at least place the people in a reasonable position. But I like the idea of looking up at people looking down. So there's a good example of looking up, you see? And there's lots of possibilities with portraiture. So, video slideshows. I'm going to show you a little clip on how to do a video slideshow, and then I'll show an example of one.
Choose your specific or your favorite pictures that you want to make a slideshow of. Now go ahead and tap Select. Now mark those specific pictures that you want to make a slideshow of. So I want to select these pictures, and afterward all you want to do is just go ahead and tap the Share button, and then go ahead and scroll down to the bottom and tap Add to an Album. So go ahead and tap Create a New Album, and now go ahead and just set a name for it. Okay, so I'll just make slideshow. Now I'll just tap Return, and then what will happen, your album will be created on your iPhone.
And then you just ask it to create a slideshow, and it will. You know how your slideshow automatically comes up when you just happen to look at your phone, you got pictures in your phone, and it makes a slideshow, right? Yeah, it's the same idea, except that you can set it up the way you want it by selecting the photographs you want in the slideshow and then doing it. It takes a little bit of practice, but it can be done. And this was a slideshow that I did in the Santa Cruz area using my iPhone, just the way he was talking about it. And again, if you want to know how to do this in detail, and you go to YouTube, right? That's what I did. Anything is on YouTube. And then you can look at it, you can stop it, you can practice, you can go back to YouTube, you can practice. So you can do it on YouTube. So I added a little bit of music, and these are just pictures. And you can adjust the time frame that you want each picture to be on. And you make a little slideshow with your phone, okay? So again, it's there. Now, sometimes the iPhone with the phone can be really easy for some of you, and some of you maybe a little complicated. But again, you go to YouTube and get the exact directions step by step by step. So this is a slideshow that I put together because I do a lot of phone photography and video with my phone, right? Video is one of those other things at the bottom. When you put your camera app on, you look for video, and then you can do a video. The thing about video is you want to make sure that you're doing a smooth video. Smooth, not jerky, but smooth as you're scanning across or you're holding your camera as steady as you can if one thing is going on all the time. So there's video techniques that you do with your phone or any camera. They're the same. Smooth actions, very smooth movements all the way around. So I do a lot of still photography and video of the same event. So when I'm doing a wedding, for example, I'll take video, regular shots for portraits or whatever of the folks or whatever, and then I do some video clips, for example, when they're taking their vows. I get up close so the camera can hear them, because the iPhone, one of the other weaknesses is you can't hear it more than a few feet away from you. Just like the flash in a phone will only work within this much distance, really, or this much distance. It's a very weak flash. So again, try it, play with it, and you can turn on your flash. You can make sure your flash is on. You can set it to automatic. It's just the little flash icon in the corner of your screen when you turn on your camera, and you can tell it what you want it to do. Most of the time it's on automatic because it'll know what to do in that situation. But it has very little range, very little range. And the sound the same way. So if I'm doing a wedding with the vows, hopefully there's a sound system, which usually there is, right? So they're able to project the sound so everybody in the back of the room or outside can hear it. But if there is no sound system, you want to get as close as you can to the source of the sound, because if you don't, the camera's either not going to hear it at all, or it's going to be really, really low volume, in which case they're not going to hear it either. So again, position yourself, because you can do that in many instances. Or if you're not sure it's okay to do it at a wedding, for example, you can ahead of time, you can ask whoever it is, hopefully it's a friend, somebody you know, or the wedding couple themselves, if you know them. Would it be okay if I move up front to take a few pictures? And that is a good thing to do if you're going to get good shots like that. All right. How are we doing with time? We're almost there. Okay. Let me show you this. Come on. Is it going to work? Here we go. So this is the light show at the desert, the zoo out here. And so I'm walking around with my iPhone doing some video work because the lighting was really nice. This is at night, of course. And this is a still photo that I can make move with editing programs. I can make move in and out, so they also move even though they're still photographs. And I added the music that I thought might be appropriate for a slideshow like this. So that's what that's all about. iPhone free editing. It's in your
We're
iPhone.
going to focus on the editing tools first, and we're going to focus on these three lines, which opens up the photo editor on the iPhone. From here, you should see your toolbar at the bottom, and if you have a more recently updated iPhone or a newer iPhone, you should see Adjust, Filters, Crop, and Cleanup. And Cleanup is a tool that's only available, I believe, iPhone 15 Pro and newer. It takes advantage of some of the AI features built into Apple Intelligence. So for starters here, let's go over the adjustment tools, and it should click on that one by default. Otherwise, just tap on it. It's the little sun. And the first option right here with the magic wand is an auto tool. This will automatically adjust multiple settings like exposure, contrast, based on the Apple AI. So if you tap on it, you can see a little bit of a change that went through on the actual photo. More of a general bright and dark throughout the whole photo. Beside that is vibrance. This is similar to saturation, but only boosts muted colors. It's kind of giving you a more natural look, and you can see here kind of changes it.
It's got a slider where you're adjusting each of these settings as you click it.
Especially you can see when I bring it all the way to 100, it makes things kind of pop more naturally. Sharpness is just going to enhance the detail in the image. Keep in mind though, if you do it too much, it starts to look a little bit harsh or unnatural, and you can see especially around the trees that it does a lot, and it kind of brings so much of that whiteness out.
So that's the editing program that's in all of your phones. They're all a little different depending on the version of your phone, but that's a terrific editing program. I mean, it's not very complicated. It's very easy to use. I often will sharpen a photograph just a little bit so that it looks sharper, but if you go too far, it doesn't look natural, so you have to be careful. If I want to boost the color, I often boost vibrance. Rather, I don't like saturation, because saturation, it's too coarse of an adjustment. I use vibrance because it's much finer adjustment, and you don't want your colors to be too bright. But maybe that day was a dull day out there and there wasn't a lot of sun and you need a little more color. That's where you get it, okay? There's another editing app you can add to your phone called Snapseed. It gives you more options for editing if you're into that. Snapseed, take a picture of the screen if you want to remember it. That's another beauty of having the phone with us. You can take pictures of my screens. I'll only charge you 10 cents per picture. Snapseed, free editing program. It's an app. And here's another really cool thing is on your phone, there is a way of identifying plants and also architecture. And I'll show you that.
So I just found out that iPhones have their own plant ID system. Let's try it out. Find a plant you want to ID and snap a quick picture. Then once you have your picture, go to it, and on the bottom there should be a little eye with some stars over it. Click on that and plant lookup should be there. So click there, let's see how it does. And look at that, found out it was a hollyhock despite no flowers on it. Give it a try in your own garden and let me know how it works.
So that's really cool because you can use it not only for identifying a plant while you're out and about. You know, you take the picture first, you click the little eye at the bottom of the pic when it comes up as you're viewing it again. You click the little eye and it will identify in most cases what kind of plant it is. Will it be 100% correct? I wouldn't bet $100 on it. But most of the time it works pretty well, and that's not the only one that does it. There's another program that does it, and I think I'll bring that up in just a minute. But let's say you want to identify a building. Okay, how many of you have been here? The Parthenon in Athens? So I took this picture a while back, and I just wanted to test the AI and just see if it could identify what it was. And you can see that it did. You can't see this real clearly depending on where you are, but it brings it up. You hit the little eye at the bottom, it brings it up, and then it identifies. This says Parthenon right here. You see? And so a lot of times you may not remember the name of the architectural site that you were visiting, and you want to tell people about it when you get home, right? Or you just want to recall it. So that's a way you can do it. Hit the little eye at the bottom of that photograph, and it will hopefully identify it for you. Next, I'm almost done. Hang in there. Here's another one. This is another app called Seek. Some of you like nature. You want to be out and about. And this is an app called Seek that you take the picture of a plant or an insect, and it is devoted to find out what it is. And it works really well. I use it all the time, and it's really cool. There's another app. You want to identify birds. There's there's apps for birds. There's all kinds of stuff. It uses AI is what it's doing. It's identifying that picture based on billions of pictures that have already been taken of the same things, and it's saying that's a match. That's how AI is working in this case. Someday I might show you a class on AI if you're interested. Okay, so anyway, how to get better, practice every day, use all the things that we're talking about, use some of these apps, just practice, 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 and take multiple shots of the same thing, and you'll do just fine. Thank you very much for your attention. I have a few minutes for questions. If we can get the lights up and the audio, tech guys, turn on the lights, please. Hey, why do you like that? I can actually see you now. That's pretty cool. You'll need to, thank you. You'll need to speak up really loud so I can hear you. And I'll repeat the question. Yeah, there are guidelines. I think you're talking about a grid or something along those lines. Oh, the live, oh, I'm sorry. Okay. There's a live button. Now, here's what the live button does. The live button actually takes numerous photographs, maybe 5 or 6 photographs when you push the key to take the photo, and you've got movement. That's when live comes in. You want to see the movement. Now, here's the key. So it will show you, when you go to your photos, it'll show you only one of, it'll pick out whichever one it is, but it's not going to be the one you want. So you've got a string of 6 photographs, and you can then, if you go to the edit button, you can then look at each one of those photographs in the string and pick out the one you want to save. That's what live does. It works like a burst. A burst is holding that shutter speed down when you're taking a picture, and it will take, like 10 pictures per second. The hard part is, it's great for animal photography. I use it all the time for animal photography, because how can you get the one frame you want? I was on a trip to I forgot where now, going on a lot of trips. I think it was Central America. And we found a Morphos butterfly. For those of you who don't know what a Morphos butterfly is, it's a big butterfly. It's about that big. And it has the most beautiful fluorescent blue color when the wings are in exactly the right position. So can you imagine how many photographs you'd have to take to get the wings in the right position when that butterfly is moving around? You can't ever get the right timing. But with burst, holding your finger on the shutter release, it'll work, or by using live. Live is better, I think, in that case, because it won't take 200 pictures you forgot to take your finger off. It will only take about maybe 6 pictures or 8 pictures. And then you can pick out the one you want. But don't forget to go back to editing and pick out the right picture in that string. Yes? That's a good question. I'm going to answer it very diplomatically, if I can. Most phones are very similar. The techniques that you saw today are very similar. Most phones, like those apps, they build apps for every kind of phone because they don't want to just be limited to one. Now, you'll find some apps that are, but photography is photography. Seeing the right shot, composing the right shot, recognizing the right lighting, all of those techniques, doesn't matter what instrument you're using. I get a kick, I'm a golfer. I get a kick out of the billions. How many golfers do we have out there? Okay, you'll understand this. I get a kick out of the billions of dollars they earn from selling just that perfect club. It's kind of like the perfect camera. It's more about the photographer, because you could have the best camera in the world or the most advanced phone in the world, and if you don't know how to take a damn picture, it's going to be a bad photo. Yes, it can be useful, but again, if you want to be sure about a particular phone and what it can or cannot do, go to YouTube. YouTube knows the answer to everything. How much time do we have left? Okay, I'll stay as long as you have questions. Yes, say it loud. Okay, good question. How do you store your pictures? My wife stores them all on her phone. I keep saying, well, actually not all, because here's the right technique. You go on a trip or you spend some time taking photographs. You go to a wedding, you go to a family event, you go to whatever, you take a whole bunch of pictures, right? And you see so many that, you go through them yourself right after that event and you say, that's a good one. And I could actually make it a favorite. Remember, you can make a little heart on it and turn that picture into a favorite, in which case it will go into a special album of favorites and really be great to see, and you won't have the others. But also delete the other ones. Delete as you go. There's no reason for your phone to be burdened with all these garbage pictures that you're never going to use. So delete as you go. The other thing is that most of you are connected to the cloud, right? And so most of you, when you take a photograph, it may not happen immediately, but within 24 hours for sure, maybe 12 hours, it goes onto the cloud. So you're saving pictures on the cloud also. And there's Google Docs will be able to get pictures off the cloud, Google Photos, I should say, get pictures off the cloud and do different things with them, send them to people, put them in albums. The other thing talk about albums. The other thing that I've done is I go to a special place like Yosemite, and I spend a whole week taking pictures of Yosemite. Most of them are pretty good, okay, or Yellowstone, or wherever you're going. And I want to make an album out of those pictures so you can get a photo book made online again. There's a variety of companies that will put your photo. You just select what photos you want. You send them into this company, and they will produce an actual book, like a coffee table book that you can share on your coffee table or give as a gift to the kids that got married, or you know what I mean, or a family event or whatever. Those photo books are really cool, and you can get a whole page photograph. You've got to be careful the way you display photographs. You don't want to have a whole bunch of little tiny photographs. You want big photographs. So pick out the best ones and just save the best ones. Other questions? Yes, sir. Any tricks about taking night photography? The phone is not the best instrument to do that. But if you want to take, and I've done a lot of night photography too, with a camera, you have to have a long exposure, generally speaking, with a camera. Like some cameras you can set to have a full minute. Set it on a tripod. You go to a dark place like Joshua Tree at night, where it's dark, because dark allows you to see everything, those stars brighter, allows the camera to do that. And that's the way you do it. You set it up on a tripod, you do different time frames, a minute, half minute, quarter minute, and then you may get something really interesting, okay? Or even a longer exposure. And you can see those stars moving across your picture in a circular motion. One more thing about night photography. This you could do with it. No, you can't do it. The phone, you can't set a phone to do a delayed exposure, a long exposure. I mean, the phone does what it does, depending on the amount of light. So that's the limitation there. Yeah. That's a good, what is the storage method going to be in the next 10 years? I'll tell you what, I think I'm more worried about how I can store them now than 10 years from now, but it's hard to say. Who knows what AI is going to do to all of our lives? I mean, it could be very different. But the bottom line is, if you store your pictures, your best pictures, I make folders, and I didn't answer that question over here. I make folders on my desktop or in my photo. I have Marc's photos. It's a whole folder that I keep all my photos, and in each individual trip, I'll make a folder. This is Yosemite. This is Yellowstone. I'll date it so I can find it again, okay? And so, and I have an external hard drive. And so rather than, worrying about the cloud and who's going to hack my photos, or I don't care. But when I want to keep my photographs, I don't want to keep them on my computer because I don't want to use all that hard drive space, right? So I have an external hard drive where I keep my important documents in case my computer burns up, or, why do you have an external hard drive? There's a reason for it. And I'm old-fashioned, talking about future. I'm old-fashioned. I don't trust the cloud. So I like to have my own external hard drive, and I keep one of them in my safety deposit box with my really important information, right? I got 2 safety deposit boxes, and I swap them out regularly. So I may be a little paranoid about that, but that's the way I do it. So hopefully that answers. Another question. Yes?
Good afternoon. I was just curious, do you know of a good program if you're going to share, let's say, in a public space where you can have your ownership of your photos?
Yeah, I think you're talking about kind of copywriting or trademarking them so you can mark them somehow. Yes, absolutely. There's and I haven't bothered with that myself, but there's definitely ways to do it. Go to YouTube and you'll see multiple ways of trademarking your photographs. And if you are selling photographs, I don't sell my photographs. Nobody would want them anyway. So what I do is I don't worry about trademarking them, but if I was to sell my photographs, like some people have, I have friends that have websites of their own where they market their photographs, okay? And so they definitely have a way of copywriting those photographs so that other people can't steal them and sell them themselves, right? So it's a way of protecting your property, just like any other copyright or trademark is. I hope that answers your question. Any others? Yes. Yeah. Yeah. The question was, how do I do a panorama without having the photograph look up and down and kind of strange that way? And there's only one way to do that. I practice. So what I will do when I'm doing a panorama is, if I wanted to do this room as a panorama, I take my phone, and first of all, I look at the scene. Oh yeah, I like that, I like that, I like that. There's a reason to do a panorama. That's number one. So then, what I do is I practice. I'm going to start over here. I have panorama set. I just hit the shutter release. And then I practice first. And I keep that camera level. Now, what level do I want? Do I want it up here? Do I want it down here? What is the angle of the level that I want to capture the essence of that panorama? And I can do as many of them as I want, right? Got time. So then I start over here. And I just very slow. I move about this fast. And you can see that I'm not moving like this. I'm moving level. And what I do is I rotate my body. And I do it smooth and slow. And here's the other little trick on a panorama. I went to the Big Tree, Big Humboldt, Big Sur, where they have those, actually it was Kings Canyon, where they have the giant redwoods. So I turn the camera vertically for a panorama. Vertically. And then I start at the bottom of the tree. That was very cool. And you'll see that the photograph is great. And then again, look at it immediately, and you decide, oh yeah, that's great. Or you say, nah, I don't like that photograph. Do it again. Do it as many times as you need to. Do the panorama, and if it's like this, go back and do it again. Rotating the body. Rotating the body. You see? And keeping that camera level. Very cool technique. Make sure you pick the right scene. Some scenes don't lend themselves. Any other questions? Yes?
Maybe a famous singer like the other night, just an example. And he's singing, how do I get the vocal on his voice with the camera on his face?
Okay. So the question is, let's say you go to a concert and you've got a singer and you want to get a good photograph, a video of that singer, okay? As I said before, the key is the right audio in the room. As you heard, we got audio in this room, right? It's loud enough for everybody to hear it. So you can be anywhere in that room. You can zoom in to that face of Paul Anka, whoever it is that's singing, okay? And the sound will be perfect because it's loud enough to be perfect because it's projected around the room. So your camera will pick up that sound just fine. And you can zero in on that face go as close as you can without getting into too much trouble. Go as close as you can and zoom in on the face and zoom out. When I do video, I like to zoom in, I like to zoom out slowly. Just as you're moving slowly with a video or holding it steady, you zoom in with the fingers smoothly, and you zoom out. And don't take a really quick scene. Most viewers need at least 8 seconds to recognize something. They need at least 8 seconds. So you do, when I do video in the class, by the way, for those of you who forgot, I teach Be a Better Photographer, and every week we're going to do a lot of this stuff. And you're going to learn so much you would not believe it. I have people that have taken my class for 10 years, and they come back every single term, 3 terms a year. The same people. Because we all learn from each other, and we all become better photographers. Be a Better Photographer through LIR. You got the brochure in the back if you didn't pick one up. Yes?
There's a brochure about it?
Yes.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Let me just hit that one more time for those of you who got in late. On the back table, I hope it's still back there, is our list of spring classes. Spring. Why spring? Because it's winter right now, right? We're already in winter term. You can't take a winter class because we've already closed registration for winter. And the winter classes are on the website right now. You can kind of see them if you want to look. But the spring classes are what's coming up. And if you go to the website and you sign up to join our email list, and again, I told you, we're not going to sell your name or anything. We don't have any reason to do that. You're going to get the updates sent to your phone when registration opens, when it closes, what are the newest things and all that. So it's well worth it. 5 classes for $45, and the reason it's that is because none of us are paid for any of it. We all do it because we're passionate about what we're teaching. Literature classes, arts, music, current events, photography, a whole lot of different classes, and again, it's on the sheet. Any other last question? Yes? I think that the question is, why do they tell you to turn your phone maybe upside down or in different ways? For one thing, the phone is going to flip it back up the right way, isn't it? In most of those cases, it usually does. That's not, I haven't, and to me, I don't go for those kind of techniques. I like to see what I'm going to get and then bracket and take lots of photographs from different points of view. So I'm looking at it right side up because that's where my photograph's going to be. So I don't think I would pay too much attention to that. Unless it's given to you by Ansel Adams, and it wouldn't be because he's dead. Yeah. Food photography. The way the class works is that people choose any photograph they want to submit for the theme of the week. So, for example, the first week of every class is anything goes with a creative emphasis. Can be food, it can be anything you want. When we do still life photography, that could be food. When we do perspective, it could also be food. When we do creative editing or something like that, could be food. I have a picture of my parrots in a boiling pot of water coming out of eggs that I put together. And I get all kinds of emails from this. How could you treat your birds that way? Anyway, they're still alive. Any other questions? Yes. In my first life, I was an educator. Can you tell? Thank you. Yes, I was an educator. I was a counselor. I ran career technical educations. And the reason I keep hitting LIR, Learning and Retirement, so much is because I happen to be a board member, okay, and one of the directors. And so I believe in it. I've been with them for 15 years now. And what I see in our students, and you're all here because you want to learn something, but what I see in our students are people who really want to work on their minds. They want to keep growing. They want to have a purpose. And many of our teachers, the reason they teach for free is they want to have a purpose. I love to have a purpose, so I teach 2 classes for them. It takes me a long time to put together something like you saw today. And every week I put together, not for photography, because photography is the people submit photographs. So that's pretty easy for me to do. All I have to do is put them together in a folder and then show them, because we do a Zoom class, show them, and we have the comments. But my other class, controversial issues, can you imagine there are actually controversial issues? That one takes a great deal of time, and I love teaching it because I love doing the research. It's all fact-based. I put together the PowerPoints. I put together lots of videos and educate my students about what's going on with a particular issue that they may not know all about. They may just see a slice of it, a headline. But it's important to understand these things, and so that's what I love to do. I was a political science major, after all, so it comes naturally. I love it. Sometimes. Yeah. Great question. There are other programs that use the same name, believe it or not. I don't know the legality of all that, but our program is just here. How many people have heard of Ollie? Osher, Ollie? Yeah. Our program is very much like theirs. The difference is that we don't charge anything, and we don't have any paid staff, not even any administrative staff. We are all working for ourselves, and Learning in Retirement's been around for 30 years, and believe it or not, it's at its height with, right now, 38 classes this winter, 38 classes, all by volunteers. And in the spring, we'll have about 30 that you can still sign up for. So I'm very happy to be part of LIR, and I'm really happy the library has hosted us for these presentations so that we can expose our public to what we do. And the reason we do that is because they say that LIR is the best kept secret. That's what I've heard over and over again. We're the best kept secret in the Valley. Well, we don't want to be the best kept secret in the Valley, because not only do we always want to expose more students who want to keep their minds sharp in all these different subjects, but we also have gotten our teachers from our student body. So our teachers have come to us because of hearing about LIR and also taking classes. I didn't know about LIR either. I took classes, and they said, "You want to teach for us?" And I said, "No." You know, I mean, who wants to go to work again? I just retired. I don't want to go to work again, you know. But anyway, I thought about it, and I came up with a course I wanted to teach, and they said no. And then I explained a little more about the course and about my background, and they said, "Okay, let's give it a try." It's been 15 years now, 3 times a year. Every single term is different topics. A lot of work, but I love doing it. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Marc. Thank you so much.
Have a good day, everyone. You're welcome. Pick up a brochure on the way out, a sheet with the classes on the way out if you haven't already done so. Yes, sir. Appreciate it.